As someone who's been in Christian leadership and more importantly, worship ministry for almost 6 years, I thought that I had a really good idea of what it meant to be a Christian leader. I understood that being on the worship team meant that I could combine my passion of music and people together so that I can influence and outreach to people. But I also understood that being an influencer meant I had responsibility and that when I was accomplishing what I was supposed to do, my greater purpose, I felt like I had a greater sense of worth and I had a greater sense of, oh, I know what I'm doing. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. And until I took this class, I never really had to give a proposed definition of what leadership meant to me. And what I think I've got, or what I conceive Christian leadership to be, is leadership is a way of thinking that involves influencing people, spreading your vision or core values to others, and as a result of this, inspiring the change that you want to see in your community. So before I go any further, I'd love to jump into what the word says about being a good Christian leader. Acts 10:34-35 says, "Then Peter began to speak. I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism, but accepts from every nation the one who fears him and does what is right." This is a fundamental belief in Christian leadership, in that when we know that God does not show favoritism, it eliminates the need for competition or the need for comparison, which in my personal opinion has impacted me because I constantly see what other people are doing and I envy that. And I believe that comparison can be the downfall of many leaders who constantly look at other leaders and their success and not really understanding their own. Deuteronomy 8:6-7 says, "Observe the commands of the Lord your God, walking in obedience and to him and revering him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills." This is the promise that God has for us, and he wants to see all of his leaders and all of his children in general see the good things that he has offered and the good things that are to come when we follow the word of God. Matthew 5:16 says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." And I want to read this bullet point because it's very important. Jesus is addressing those who desire to make his message of the gospel known. This should be the heart of every leader who wishes to serve the mission of the church, to lead a group of people with excellence and allow for other people to see the fruits of their labor. If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. If you're going to be a leader, lead with excellence, integrity, and vision, and people will rally around that and they will follow you. Philippians 2:3-4. This is arguably the most important I'm making in this whole video. "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others." And this perfectly demonstrates the humility that we as leaders need to have. A point that I want to make during this video is that we need to be humble when we lead people because we want to treat others the way that we want to be treated. And that includes understanding that life happens sometimes and people are human and make mistakes. And we need to not only work through that and adapt, but we also need to understand that it's not always going to be perfect. But what we do with that matters. So moving on, I'd like to talk about how this class has impacted my frame of view when talking about leadership. And I think that it's great because there are so many different ways that people have said, oh, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. 3 examples that I'd like to provide are the behavioral theory, situational theory, and skills approach to leadership. Behavioral theory states that in the logistical world of the relationship, some people have different ways to manage other people, and it's based on tasks versus relationships. In Christian leadership, we should be equally focused on the people that we're influencing and focusing on completing tasks efficiently. And I think this is great because for me, I understand that there is a certain amount of work that needs to be done in order for things to run smoothly. And I think that we focus on the relationship and we don't want to offend anybody by saying, oh, we need to work on this. But we also don't want to be completely lazy either. So it's that balance of trying to find we care about people and we want them to succeed, but in order for them to succeed, we have to make sure that everybody maintains a work ethic and maintains a steady flow of just being in a part of the team. In situational theory, it says the leaders need to be able to understand the situations of their followers and people they influence in order to be a better quality leader. This becomes more practical when evaluating real-life situations that can affect the emotions, relationships, and personality of a leader's followers. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If a situation were to arise that you were saying, I need to leave, I need to take off, and people aren't showing you a lot of grace, then you would feel ostracized and you would feel taken back and you wouldn't want to be a part of the message anymore. Being a good leader means understanding that people are people. Things are going to happen that are out of your control, out of their control, and you need to learn how to work and manage that. Skills approach says that every leader contains certain skills they can use in order to lead people. By knowing these skills, it helps them understand how they can better equip people while also knowing what they're strong at. I'll give you an example. In this class, I have known that I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love talking with people. I love communicating. And I think that for me, that is a strong suit. In some forms, it's a weakness because I don't really understand the level of where I need to be at in certain social interactions. But for the most part, I would see that as a positive. So I know my strengths whenever it comes to managing different people in leadership. And I think that once you know more about yourself and you're confident about yourself, then you can project that same level of confidence into the people that you work with. If the church truly exists to spread the gospel, and leaders are called to equip the saints, then we need to do so. And I think that a great way of doing this, or at least starting this process of being a great leader, comes down to 3 main points: caring for others' needs, revealing truth consistently, and establishing constant communication. A perfect example for this is my young adult pastor. I'll give his first name, Caleb. He is a fantastic man of God, and I've been able to see how he interacts with everybody that's on his team, in his church, and a part of his life, including friends, family, etc. And I've been growing close with him as a friend because he has taken me in under his wing, and he's allowed me to see what it means to be a good moral leader and to lead with a backbone, obviously, not let anybody walk around with you. And that's just like what I was talking about before, when it's like you want to make sure that you have people that are on the same task, but you want to make sure that everybody's working together and it's all cognizant. But I'll say this: he cares for other people's needs. He knows that there are people in his church that are struggling, and he wants to help them in any way that he can. And he will constantly reach out asking how he can pray for them, how he can help them, and how he can get involved with the situation if it is possible to do so. He is constantly a man that goes to the word on every issue that you put in front of him. And it's a thing of, you can ask him any question and he's going to direct you to the exact passage. He's going to direct you to the exact quotation from Scripture. He's very real in how he interacts with everybody. And he constantly wants to establish good communication. He tries to make everything healthy and tries to make everything, if there is an issue that happens, he wants to be constructive in nature. And I think that is another great value that we as leaders need to hold tight. I think that Caleb has a way of understanding people that so many leaders just don't. And again, that was the main point that I was having about Philippians 2, 3 through 4, is not worrying about what you want or what you want to see out of your people, but understanding that your people are people and that you're all going toward a common goal and putting them above yourselves. He is a true servant leader, in my personal opinion. Now, I want to show you something very interesting. This is one of the first guitars that I actually bought with my own money when I was starting out, before I had some cheap I don't even know if I could call it a guitar anymore. It's beat up, it's dinged up. But this has been my baby for a long time. It's been something that I've taken with me to a bunch of different places and seen a lot of different parts of this country, and here pretty soon I'm going to see a different part of the world by going into a different country with this guitar. I want to point out some key things that are different about this guitar. For one, it's a different brand. The tuners are different. The strings are different. The top wood is different from what other guitars may have. The back and sides have a different pattern. It's constructed. This actual design was handcrafted by Taylor Guitars, and they had a patent for it for quite a while until other brands started seeing this and started copying it. And I think that it's very interesting because, to me, every guitar is different. Every single thing that goes into making a guitar impacts the price, impacts the way it sounds, and impacts the way you feel about it. But every guitar is meant to do one thing. It's to produce sound. Now, some guitars don't produce a better sound than others necessarily, but a lot of the time it is the case whenever you consider how high quality the materials are. In order for a good sound to be produced out of an acoustic guitar, key things need to be in place so that you get a good sound out of it consistently. It is the exact same with leadership. Every leader has one purpose, especially in Christian leadership. It's to glorify God, make his name known, and equip saints. That is the purpose. That is the sound. But everything that leads to that purpose is completely unique and is completely by God's design. In order for us to make a good sound in leadership, we need to understand the materials we are working with, the materials in this case being the people that make us leaders, the people that follow us. We need to understand that our followers have as much power as we do because they can impact the situations that we deal with. And I believe that when you look at it from that perspective, you will learn how to be a better leader because you will work with people more efficiently and you will carry out the vision that God has placed on your life, the purpose he's placed on your life, and you will make a beautiful sound. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this class. I've learned so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.